Hi, my name is Brandon Bishop and welcome to The Angry Show. I wish I could start off with a little bit better news, but apparently the latest and greatest threat to humanity has finally surfaced. They're thinking that it was brought here by terrorists. They said it was man-made, but all that they're telling us and all that they know is that it will eventually get to every state. It will eventually get to every city. It will eventually get inside of your home, affect your relatives, affect your friends, affect you. And are you ready? We've always had these doomsday scenarios, haven't we? We've always had these end of times that everybody gets out of their storybook. We always prepare ourselves through movies and television and books and songs about the end of the world, but now it could quite possibly be here. Now. Are you ready? Well, you don't have to be, because I'm lying. Everything I just said is complete BS, and I did it to prove a point. Because somewhere in the back of your head, you started to look around, maybe looked at your loved ones, maybe looked at yourself in the mirror, maybe thought deeply, what does Brandon know? What could he possibly be telling us? Why would he look me right in the eye and say, you're in danger? Why? Because it's simple. If I tell you that you're in danger and I create the issue, you're gonna stick around and wait for the solution. And that is exactly what the media does. Today's topic, fear in the media. AIDS, bird flu, the crisis with our borders, Ebola, Ferguson, guns, ISIS, jihadism, measles, nuclear war, China, Russia, police brutality, cancer, SARS, terrorism, vaccines, bed bugs, the water we drink, the food we eat, the air we breathe. You need to be afraid of all of that at once. It's not enough to have to wake up in the morning and be an indentured servant, go to work, trade in your hours for a handful of dimes. It's not enough to have to worry about your children, worry about your family, worry about yourself. Yeah, it's not enough to have to stay in shape, have to figure out how to eat every day, have to live. It's not enough for all that. That's not enough worry, is it? Humans are like bears at the zoo. Once in a while, you gotta throw them a beach ball so they bat it around. They go, oh, look at this new thing. This is great. Until they pop the beach ball, then they need to move on to something else. That's where our media comes in. Have you noticed that? It seems that when we get into a routine, the day-to-day lives, distractions, they don't always cut it, so we need something a little more exciting than that, don't we? Yeah, we do. We need the latest, greatest fear-mongering. Recently, they said measles was the new thing. All of our kids are gonna die. I remember like 30 years ago hearing about kids in my class with measles. They didn't die. And what's next? Chicken pox? Chicken pox are gonna kill everybody. The mumps, is that what it is? I remember all these things as a child. What's the difference between now and then? Well, now we have various 24/7 multimedia news, we'll call them the entertainment news, organizations that just need ratings, they need content, they need you to just buy their bullshit. And you do, don't you? How many people were worried about Ebola Do you know how many billions, or is it billions, or millions and millions of Americans there are? And 2 people died of Ebola and everybody lost their freaking mind. You know, if they put the numbers out there for heart disease and autism and things like that, then maybe you really actually should lose your mind about some of the things going on. But no, we had to concentrate on Ebola because it was the new thing. It was the new beach ball. It was the new just shiny object that we're all attracted to because it was just awful and terrible and it was gonna wipe out humanity, wasn't it? Well, if humanity was 2 people, it sure did its job, but it's not. It's billions of people, and there's much, much worse things out there. But for a time being, for that little chunk of our calendar that we allowed, well, we didn't really have a choice of what the media throws into our face. But that was all the rave. Before that, it was bird flu. Before that, it was SARS. Was that the same thing? How about AIDS? Does anybody remember AIDS? Yeah. AIDS was going to be the end times. And all you religious fanatics out there were like going, it's all because of the gay people and somebody raped a monkey or something. I don't know how AIDS got started, but I remember the fear that it caused. It sure made people stop doing certain activities. It sure boosted condom sales. You really have to trace the money. Find out where the money's going. Find out where it came from. Find out who's offering the best solution. And then you'll find your source of fear. Now, I remember as a child laying in bed, clearly remember laying in bed as a child, thinking that at any given moment, my whole existence, my parents, my life, everybody I knew, everything that I knew was going to be completely dissolved within a big nuclear fire. I would cry myself to sleep during the Reagan administration, thinking that a nuclear bomb was going to drop on just any minute, any second, maybe before I woke up. It was very real to me. And then they came out with that movie The Day After. You remember that? Not The Day After Tomorrow, the most recent one from a few years back, but no, The Day After, with all the cheesy nuclear bombs and the people turning into skeletons and just evaporating in front of your eyes. That scared the ever-loving, probably nice, crap out of me. And where did that fear come from? Did it come from me doing the research as a child and finding out what could happen? Did I go to Russia and say, hey, how many nuclear bombs do you have aimed at my house? Did I get some inside government tip about a pending nuclear war? No. I heard it all on the news. Yeah. Heard it all on the news. And how about the generations before me, the kids that were hiding under their desk, the stop, drop, and roll videos, and the picture of that, the video of that house that just kept disintegrating, and the trees that went whoa, whoa, whoa. What about all that? And that's what my parents were brought up with in the 50s and 60s. Little did any of us know at that time that the United States, our beautiful, wonderful country, which I do love, had probably 100 times more nuclear weapons than Russia. Russia had maybe enough to get a couple into the United States. They could do some damage to Europe, but we were really in no imminent danger whatsoever. But that doesn't do much for our country's morale. That doesn't bring us all together and rope us all in, does it? No, we have to be afraid. If we're not afraid, we're not going to hoist an American flag on every porch. We're not going to put our hands over our hearts and proudly say the national anthem or the Pledge of Allegiance. We're not going to do that if we're not prone to do so, if prodded to do so by fear. The two slogans that we have here on The Angry Show is, be angry all the time. No, don't be an angry douchebag person where you're just like, screw you, I'm not holding the door for you, you're an asshole, and I'm smoking at an entrance. No, don't be that guy. Be angry about the state of things. Because we live in a country that can be so effing good. We live in a time where technology and our resources could make our lives beautiful. We could concentrate on things like eliminating stress. We could concentrate on things like health. We could concentrate on things like happiness. What a concept! But instead, we're driven into a fear-based, almost form of slavery. For those of you who watch the 24 News, me personally, I like to watch it and see what's going on and try to find out what they're distracting us from. It's kind of like a game I like to play. But for the greater masses that sit in front of CNN and sit in front of Fox News and soak in every single minute of every single stupid thing that they're saying to you, turn it off. At this point, you should just know better. Grab your remote, aim it at your cable box or your television itself, whatever one applies, and if you're watching that garbage, turn it off. Now, I'm not telling you what to do. You live in a free country, of course. All I'm asking you to do is our other slogan: question everything. Okay? Now, I remember back in the days, I heard people say, you can't trust anything you read in the newspapers. Okay? Where are the people saying that about the news now? Besides people like myself, of course, but you can't trust anything that they're saying on the news today. Fox News has even categorized itself as entertainment. Think about that for a second. Seriously, let that sink in. They're not calling themselves a broadcast journalist news station anymore. No, Fox News is an entertainment. And if that's the kind of entertainment you like, then fantastic, watch it. But stop believing everything they say. You should know better. Now, where does this kind of a thing start? Honestly, I think it started when humans started. When the sun went down and the moon came up and everything was dark around you, and then everybody kind of got in these little circles. Maybe they had fire at that point, putting their hands over the fire, telling stories about why it got dark. And they didn't know why it got dark. They didn't know that the sun went on the other side of the earth. They didn't know. So what they did was they made things up. I mean, read the Egyptian Book of the Dead. It's a fantastic little piece of fiction. Horus was the sun god. He made everything bright. But he was defeated by Set, who turned everything dark. And of course, the next day, Horus came back and defeated Set and made everything light. And then Set defeated Horus and made everything dark. And then Horus beat Set. And then Set beat Horus and dark and light. And that's where it came from. And all this time, when it's just going morning and night, things that we take for granted at the moment, or not take for granted, but things that we absolutely can explain in 2015. Meanwhile, all these people were just kind of sitting around telling stories. Terrible stories. Like, if you walk 15 yards that way, or you're going to be eaten by a dark times monster, or you'll fall off the earth, or something really stupid by today's standards. That's what they did. They talked. Which, that kind of talking evolved into what we call religion. That's an entirely different episode. Please stand by for that one. But people talk, and they would scare you into believing in something called hell. They would scare you into believing something called demons and the devil, and because people were stupid back then. That's stupid for their day and age. I mean, there were smart people then too, Socrates and all of this, but even those people by today's standards of a 13-year-old today's smarter with general knowledge than the smartest people back then. But in some aspects, we remain very stupid. And this is one of them. Allowing and not seeing how that's transgressed. 9/11. It's terrible to see all those people die, and that is another episode as well. But almost as bad as the actual event was what was to follow. Here's a quick example.
This great city, we saw tragedy arrive on a quiet morning. September the 11th. September the 11th. September the 11th.
September 11th. September 11th. September 11th. September 11th. September 11th. September 11th.
September 11th, September 11th.
September 11th, September 11th.
September 11th, September 11th. September 11th, September 11th. September 11th, September 11th, September 11th. September 11th, September 11th, September 11th. September 11th, September 11, 2001. Saddam Hussein, Saddam Hussein,
Saddam Hussein.
Saddam Hussein,
Saddam Hussein.
Saddam, Saddam, Saddam,
Saddam,
Saddam, Saddam, Saddam, Saddam, Saddam, Saddam,
Saddam, Saddam.
Saddam Hussein.
war and danger, continuing danger,
Hour of danger.
very, very dangerous world.
A grave new threat.
Horrific acts of atrocities, murderous regimes dedicating to killing us, tyranny and terror, slaughtered thousands,
Weapons of mass destruction.
weapons of mass destruction, weapons programs,
The deadliest of weapons,
terrible weapons, nuclear weapons,
nuclear weapons,
Poison gas.
torture chambers, mass graves,
deadly technologies,
radical ideology of hate,
Terror of threats.
terror,
Terror.
war on terrorism, war against terrorism,
global war on terror,
global terrorism, 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 terrorism. The evil terrorists, 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 terrorists,
terrorist, 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 terrorist,
Terrorist.
terrorists,
Terrorist. Terrorist.
terrorists, 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 terrorists.
Now please bear in mind that was all from one night. I'm not including what the news networks had done 24/7 for years after that. What they did is they conditioned our society to be afraid. They conditioned our minds to accept the unacceptable. They conditioned our minds to believe their bullshit. And you still do, don't you? Don't you? It's very unnerving to me that in this day and age, with our level of technology and our level of intelligence and our level of knowledge that's just sitting there, that we will allow ourselves to be morbidly entertained by the 24/7 news media. There are so many better things to be afraid of. There really is. I don't like spiders. I don't. I hate spiders. You know what I really hate is stupid people. And that is even another complete episode of The Angry Show. I hate stupid people driving like crazy, gangbangers and all this stuff. I hate them. But you know what I hate the most, and you know what I'm mostly afraid of? The fact that you, or a great majority of you, buy in to the fear-mongering of our media. You're smarter than this. You are. You just don't let yourself realize it. Now, I'm not asking you to drop your beliefs. I'm not asking you to completely excommunicate the media. Yeah, watch it. Keep an eye on what they're saying. But all I'm asking you to do is dig deeper. Think. Question everything. And when you find some semblance of the truth, when you've explored all options, when you've completely studied each side and debated the fact until you've got a rock hard knowledge nugget stuck in your head, then be angry, because it's not what they told you, and I guarantee it's not what they wanted you to know. Thank you guys for joining me on The Angry Show. My name is Brandon Bishop, and I'll see you next week. Have a good night. Oh, hey, let's be angry and please question everything.